И сейчас приглашаю еще тоже пройти к трибуне господина главного судья Кант с выступлением.
Equality before the law was not a privilege to be dispensed by the powerful to those they deemed deserving. It has always been the grammar of the legality itself. Without it, what we call law is merely the organized will of the stronger party. The principle of equality found its most ambitious modern expression in the Charter of the United Nations, which proclaimed in its very first article about the sovereign equality of nations large and small. The foundational principle of international law, as we hold so dear, are not the terms reserved simply for eloquent speeches. They are, in fact, the pivotal guardrails against international discretion. To my mind, the above-cited principles are too fundamental to be traded away, and if vitiated, would injure and impair the legal conscience of humanity as a whole. We have learned in India that the most significant obstacle to equality is not the lack of a statutory support, but rather it is manifested on account of geographical, social and economical disparities. Consequently, the Indian constitutional courts have interpreted and provided a broad and expansive interpretation of constitutional guarantees in order to eliminate all such barriers. Numerous nations within the global East and South are still in the process of constructing their institutions, addressing the repercussions of colonization and tackling poverty on a scale that the original drafters of these international covenants could not have envisioned. These countries frequently endure scrutiny and pressure that are not proportionately applied to wealthier and more influential states, whose own compliance records are not necessarily irreproachable. Dear delegates, I commence my remarks saying that like a thunderstone in the St. Petersburg was not relocated in a single season. However, it was moved sheerly through collective efforts and persistent determination. International law was for a long stretch of the last century built around a small number of rule makers, but the era is now ending not by anyone's design, but by the simple arithmetic of whole growth, population and innovation that now reside. The law of the future has to be built with this plurality and not in spite of it, through genuine consultation in treaty making, through representation in international institutions that reflects today's world rather than what was there in 1945. The second shift, of course, is technology. As rightly pointed out, artificial intelligence, cross-border data flows, cybercrime, digital evidence, none of these respect national borders, and none of them can be governed by any one nation acting alone. I think an era where genuine cooperation is not just desirable but unavoidable, because no state's domestic law can fully protect the citizens from a threat that originates outside its jurisdiction. We will need a new framework here to be built collaboratively from the outset rather than imposed belatedly.
Các nguyên tắc cơ bản của luật pháp quốc tế như bình đẳng chủ quyền, nguyên tắc dân tộc tự quyết, nguyên tắc không can thiệp vào công việc nội bộ của quốc gia khác có ý nghĩa đặc biệt quan trọng đối với Việt Nam. Chính vì vậy, Việt Nam luôn coi trọng luật pháp quốc tế như một công cụ pháp lý quan trọng để bảo vệ lấy quốc gia dân tộc, đồng thời là khuôn khổ để xây dựng quan hệ hữu nghị hợp tác bình đẳng. Có thể khẳng định rằng, đối với Việt Nam, luật pháp quốc tế trong quá khứ là công cụ bảo vệ độc lập chủ quyền và quyền dân tộc tự quyết, trong hiện tại là nền tảng của hòa bình, hợp tác, hội nhập, cải cách và phát triển, và trong tương lai sẽ tiếp tục là ngôn ngữ chung của đối thoại, lòng tin và trách nhiệm giữa các quốc gia bình đẳng.
Jelajahi cara baru mendapatkan informasi. Download MetroTV Extend sekarang.